Hello and welcome. I'm here to present the PRISM framework. So this is a result of the convergence of ACSM theories. This is Melissa May Buado. So evaluating an ASM program was not a straightforward task. Advocacy, communication, and social mobilization operate simultaneously across multiple levels, shifting beliefs, building political will, changing behaviors, and mobilizing communities. So when I set out to evaluate the PBSP Access TB program, I quickly recognized that there is no single evaluation framework that could fully capture what the program was doing. And that recognition became the founding question for this methodology. Not about which framework I should use, but how do existing frameworks speak to each other and what emerges at their intersection. So I'd like to share with you my thought process. And first, it involves the mapping of the evaluation landscape. It was to survey what was available because ACM in itself was already a crowded place. I reviewed about a dozen frameworks and see what's out there from uh, recognized ACSM frameworks, behavior change, CDC frameworks for public health, and diffusion innovation models as well, because each had something to offer. Next is I selected 5 relevant frameworks. So 5 was just an arbitrary number. And from the broader landscape, they covered, I think they covered the full scope of the program. And the selection is quite straightforward because there are some frameworks that are already being used by the program. So these are the top 5 most relevant frameworks that I found out. So first is the Stop TB Partnership ASCM framework. This was the most direct fit, although our key informant said that the Stop TB is a different organization. However, this is built specifically for TB programs because it addresses stigma reduction, political advocacy, and social mobilization. They are distinct but interrelated functions. Next is the CRG tool, which stands for Communities, Rights, and Gender. This would entail participation of affected communities in governance, gender disaggregated analysis, and rights-based access. For a program that serves vulnerable and marginalized populations, this lens was non-negotiable. Although PBSP also gets metrics from the CRG tool to evaluate their effectiveness. Next is the Global Fund Performance Framework. This was necessary because PBSP gets their fund from the Global Fund and it governs the grant itself. And its indicators offer externally validated benchmarks against which the program's outputs and outcomes can be measured. So the TB Results Framework and the DOH National TB Program Monitoring and Evaluation directly take from this. Next is the WHO COMBI framework. So this is a behavioral change framework. It provides the most rigorous scaffold for evaluating CAP, or knowledge, attitude, and practice change. This is for analyzing communication mix to produce those changes that are expected, and they are vital for assessing several campaigns. Last would be the outcome mapping. So this would be the only framework that I handpicked because it reorients the evaluation from what did the program deliver to what changed in the behavior and relationships of the people that the program worked with. And this would be critical for assessing the change in boundary partners, meaning the community health workers, LGUs, and other partner organizations. Next was to extract specific metrics. So from here, the work became a bit granular. I had to identify the specific metrics from each that contributed to the evaluation. So because there's existing metrics from the Access TB framework, results framework, I just added them here to see the overlaps. So from the STOP TB ACSM framework, there were advocacy outcome metrics, policy and legislative developments, and communication reach indicators. From the CRG, it's centered on community voice, such as the degree to which the people with TB participated in program planning, case notifications, and evidences of rights-based service access. Next would be the COMBI framework. There are metrics from KAP, knowledge, attitude, and practice indicators, alongside media exposure data tracking. From the Global Fund performance framework, this is very wide because it also includes treatment success rates, detection rates, and costs per case detected. And finally, the outcome mapping. By the way, this is from the work of Earl in 2001. So from outcome mapping, it contributes progress markers for each boundary partner, which has behavioral and relational indicators. It also includes whether the local office made a TB line item budget, and etc. And we can see here that there are natural overlaps already, and the domains are emerging. So the next thing was to introduce the ACSM theory into the evaluation logic. I wanted to understand the theoretical assumptions embedded in the program's design and ask which communication and behavior change theories was the program drawing on, either explicitly or implicitly, and how did they cluster across the program's domains? So working from a taxonomy organized across 7 categories, such as Craig's communication traditions, advocacy theories, message theories, social mobilization theories, so the whole range. There was 20 theories in total that were identified to be relevant. I then rated each intensity of each theory's relevance to each of the 5 converging domains on a scale of 0 to 3, producing a 20 by 5 intensity matrix. And this matrix became the analytical foundation for everything that followed. So as someone with a background on data analysis, I turned to EDA. So with the matrix in hand, I chose several visualizations that offer a different facet of the data. So first is a heat map. So from the intensity matrix, we have 5 convergence domains as the columns, and the color intensity encodes the scores. So we have 3, peripheral, meaning a weak intensity, relevant, and central. So you can see here that the global advocacy theory concentrated sharply in the political commitment domain with little relevance elsewhere. Second is a concentric spectrum diagram. Here, the annular rings represents a theory category, and each arc segment an individual theory that is scaled by the color intensity. So this reveals not just which theories mattered, but how they were distributed across the program's evaluative space. And you might call this as the program's center of gravity. So for example, in the stigma reduction, it relies heavily on the individual scale. Third is a core diagram that measures pairwise theoretical similarity between the domains using a sum of minimum metric across the 20 theories. The most notable finding would be the high similarity between community-led action, this blue chord here, and political commitment, suggesting that the theories driving community organizing and those driving advocacy overlap substantially. And this would be an important insight with direct implications for program integration. Finally, a Sankey diagram would trace the aggregate flow of theoretical intensity from each convergence domain into each theory. It confirms that Craig's traditions and social mobilization theories draw the heaviest flows from every domain, while global advocacy theories channel almost exclusively from political commitment. So this is just another way of looking at the heat map earlier. So what emerges from these sequence of analysis was not simply the findings themselves, but a framework. It is a way of synthesizing the 5 existing evaluation tools through the refracting medium of ACSM theory. So the 5 frameworks enter, the ACSM refracts them, and we have the 5 convergence domains that emerge. And this is the PRISM framework. Program review through integrated ACSM synthesis model. And as what was explained earlier, it's an acronym and a metaphor. And it conveniently also maps through the 5 emerging convergent domains: P for performance monitoring, R, rights and political commitment, I for influence on behavior change, stigma reduction, and mobilization of communities. And just like a prism, the value lies not in the single color that it produces, but in making the full spectrum visible. Thank you. This is Melissa May Buad.